Well, hello, fellow Americans and citizens of the world. Welcome to American Reversion. How are you all today? It is Thursday, the 7th of April, 2022, as if you needed to know that, right? I guess, is it the 8th in Aussie land, you guys over there in Australia? I always forget how exactly that works, but I know you're always saying, you guys are always behind us, we're always ahead, so maybe it's already the 8th over there. Whatever date it is, it's today, so good day. Have you heard about the movie My Son Hunter that's being made and coming out? We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about some other things. Have you also heard about China apparently executing people by removing their hearts? Interesting. Of course, that immediately popped up into my scope of interest. We're going to be talking about that and a whole lot of other things. Oh, did you hear that Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has apparently been diagnosed with that sniffle that everybody was so concerned about for so long. I'm not making light of that. For those of you who don't know, I worked in the hospital system all through that. I know exactly what was going on, and it wasn't what most people were being told. So if I seem to make light of it, I'm not making light of the people that really had a problem with it or who succumbed to it or are still dealing with issues. I am mocking the powers who used it to destroy this and other countries. So she's been diagnosed with that. No symptoms like most had. I think I had it once. I was kind of tired all day long. You would have thought I hadn't got enough sleep. And then the next day or two, I was good again. Never missed any work, never anything like that. Again, not making less of those who had it worse, but just throwing in my little balance of truth there, right? Because our little balance of truth didn't get out there, like it should have did it. But now, of course, we're seeing them sing a whole new song, aren't we? There's still those that trying to keep riding that pony, but some truth is starting to come. I can't talk about the truth, of course, yet, because the truth wouldn't set me free at this point, at least in that regard. The truth will get me in trouble, but you all know because you're smart what I'm saying. Anyway, so Mrs. Snerdley, she came up, she said, did you hear about Nancy, as we lovingly call her, being diagnosed with the you-know-what? And I said, yeah, I heard that. And of course, the big thing was, and she was at a function with President Biden just the day before. Which reminds me, I put up something you all might like to watch. If you want to see, the other day I put this up over on Patreon, him wandering around, not finding anybody to talk to at that event, and if you want to see that, it's sad to watch, but it's over there on Patreon. And by the way, for anybody who doesn't know what Patreon is, if you want to support the channel or you want just an entry into our secret club, the link is down there. It's Patreon, patreon.com/American Reversion, and I put the link below in case you'd like to come over and join us. It's $1 a month, and I put a lot of stuff over there that I don't put on YouTube. So would love to have you if you would like to join us. Anyway, she says, Mrs. Snerdley, who is in charge, she runs the conspiracy department at American Reversion. And in our family. Now, I used to think that I was suspicious. I've lived a life that I'm suspicious of pretty much everything that I hear. And as I think I've said on this channel before, pretty much every conspiracy theory that I ever really looked into, to any extent, and I'm an old police investigator. I do it right, I think. I have found to be credible. Shall we? Now, I haven't looked into all conspiracy theories, but I've looked into a bunch, and they all end up with, yep, I'd take that in front of a jury, right? And so anyway, this hadn't occurred to me, but she's far ahead of the curve on these things. And so she comes up and she says, this is how they're going to get rid of him. Now, I don't mean get rid of in that sense, right? What I mean is this is how they're going to move him out. And yeah, that's a thought, isn't it? Well, we will see. Mrs. Nerdley is often right on the mark. We will see if we'll hear about that. Anyway, let's get back to the subject at hand. And I see, I'm now allowing. Well, I shouldn't say allowing because YouTube did it anyway and didn't pay me for it, but I have now monetized the channel so that when they do put their ads on, I get a penny or two. But the real sponsor of this is my first book, The Reversion. It says on the front of there, now this is about rebuilding after a collapse. It says on the front, when the world collapsed, some were ready to start over. Available on Amazon, or there's a way that I put down there if you'd like to get autographed copies from me of this book and its siblings, the other 4 in the series. You can do so. What do you think? Do you think the country is collapsing? Are you ready to start over? I know a bunch of guys who were back in the 1770s, right? We hold those up to be great patriots and great heroes. We hold them up. Yeah. Anyway, I almost went into something else and stopped myself. Let's get back to this. Remember the guy that made the movie Gosnell about the butcher, the serial killer, the mass murderer, abortionist? Well, making another movie, and it is called My Son Hunter. I put the information. There are 2 people here. Let me just read a little bit about this. 1 year ago, the Irish-born filmmaking couple. This is from WND. Filmmaking couple Phelim McAleer and Anne McElhaney. I'm sorry if I didn't let those names roll off my tongue, you guys, if you're watching. I can roll a lot of the old Irish off, but not those when I haven't practiced. Try to say something in real Irish without practicing. Known for employing the medium of film to spotlight big stories and trends that establishment media either ignore or slant, began raising $2.5 million to produce a drama on the censored story of the Biden family corruption, focusing on Hunter Biden and the revelations in his abandoned laptop, the contents of which now have been entered in the congressional record by Matt Getz, that implicate his father. Father, who could that be? Big Joe. In a lucrative global influence peddling scheme. Well, okay. Now I'll continue one more paragraph. Now with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the New York Times effectively giving permission, because you can't do it without the New York Times permission, to establishment media, that's if you're establishment media, to report the laptop story amid indications the president's son could be indicted. My Son Hunter is about to be released. Okay, I've put the information. It's not necessarily the trailer, but it shows you the information. It's these 2 people who have made this film, talking about the film and how it's going and what it's about. It's very interesting. I'm going to put the link up over. No, I already have. I've already put that up as a standalone over on Patreon. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And I'll tell you, I'm going to watch that as soon as it comes out. What do we have next? South Carolina, in another example of how political pressure can work when properly applied. South Carolina House passes a bill banning trans athletes from women's sports. Do you remember when it used to be considered unfair for a male to play on a female team? You can't be on our team, you're a guy. Well, no guys that I ever knew, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, no guys that I ever knew would have ever wanted to. What's changed? Oh, we don't have time for that, right? What has changed in this world? And if anybody had been said, you ought to play on the girls' team, my gosh. I mean, that would have been considered, those would have been fighting words, right? That would have been considered the biggest insult that you could probably get. And it's nothing against you ladies. Everybody knows that men, as a result of their increased testosterone during puberty, come out bigger, stronger, and faster, right? That's why there has always been male categories and female categories. It doesn't mean that one's better in the eyes of God than the other. It means that they are physiologically different. And of course, we now are going through a period in our history that would make you think it might be the last period in human history, to where that stating the obvious is hate speech. So anyway, they say the South Carolina State House passed a bill. There she is. There's Mrs. Snerdley. Mrs. Snerdley, you missed out when I was telling the people here how being in charge of the conspiracy unit of American Reversion, that would be you. You let me know that you thought that this little cough that Nancy has, it may be the way that they move on Uncle Joe onto greener pastures, right?
I think so.
You think so? I didn't, however, tell him how I advised you in hemming a dress earlier.
And that was very much appreciated.
Yes, very good. We're getting ready for father-daughter dance tomorrow night, and she needed to hem a dress for our daughter. And believe it or not, I know about that stuff. Back to this: the South Carolina State House passed a bill on Tuesday banning transgender athletes from women's sports, putting it on a path to join several other states that have passed similar measures. The South Carolina House of Representatives passed the Save Women's Sports Bill. You see, that's really what it is. Because if you let guys into women's sports, there's not going to be any women's sports. Who would want their daughter having to go up against some dude? Some guy who's been out there lifting weights and being a guy, even if they're, being a guy. I know some girls who are stronger than their mates. Okay, but those are the rare exception. Okay, but who wants their daughter out there having to compete against this? There's going to cost these girls scholarship possibilities. It essentially could cost some of them education. It's going to completely deny a path of enjoyment and fulfillment to thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of girls. That's patently unfair. Is it patently or patently? I hear it both ways. I say it patently when I want to irritate people. So with you all, I'll say patently. It's just unfair. It's unfair at its core. It doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take a Supreme Court. It doesn't take anybody to know that men competing with women on anything that has to do with physical strength and speed is totally unfair. Why this is even a question shows, I would say it was beyond me, but it simply shows that we are if we're not at the end of humankind, we are close to it. We're within whistling distance unless things change immediately, pretty quick. So the Save Women's Sports Bill passed 82 to 28, which shows that there are 28 totally insane people in the House of Representatives in South Carolina, despite the 1,000 amendments proposed by the Democrats and a marathon debate stretching for 8 hours. So 8 hours, these 28 idiots debated, on the side of, yes, men should be able to compete against women in order to be better and be in first place. And did you like that one where this swimmer, I don't even remember, I don't know their pronouns, and I would hate to be thrown off this platform because I used an improper pronoun. So let me just all of this. He, she, it, they came in fifth. Okay. Got whooped by 4 girls. Excellent. Leah Thomas, Mrs. Snerdley says, do you suppose there's a conspiracy here somewhere that you haven't told me about and I haven't seen yet?
Very possibly.
She's thinking. She might get back to us on that before the end of this show. Okay, what a moronic cast. Now, to balance that, however, we go to the other coast, the west coast, the left coast, looking at the map. And we see that in a California city is going to give guaranteed income to who? Well, not just to anybody. Okay, of course, that would be insane, wouldn't it? No, they're going to give this to transgender, non-binary residents. They say they worked hard to build an inclusive community. Let's see about this. They have a very interesting picture here. I'm not even going to try to describe it. I'll put it up as I do everything over on Patreon. Come join us over there if you would like. I want to be a part of the Secret Cool Kids Club. The city council, and that noise behind you there, don't jump. It wasn't anybody breaking into your house. It was Mrs. Snurley dropping the bobbin. She's threading the, see, I even know the word bobbin. She's threading the sewing machine to hem the dress now that I helped her with. The city council.
Proud of that.
The city council. Do y'all feel like you're just invited into our home? Well, you are. That's where you are. You're in our home. Excuse me while I take a sip of coffee here. This is my third cup of coffee of the day. It's iced coffee. My first 2 cups are hot coffee. My third cup, and any more that I have through the day, is iced coffee. So the city council in Palm Springs, California, where else? Well, I guess there could be a lot of other places. Has approved a pilot program that will give 20 residents who claim to be transgender or non-binary. Well, apparently you just have to claim. Okay. I don't know how you would prove it, but it says the claim to be. So, hey, you want to pick up $600 to $900 a month? It says, let me continue this, and then I'll come back to that. Who claim to be transgender or non-binary, a guaranteed income of $600 to $900 a month for 2 years. The payout will cost taxpayers some $200,000. So I guess, well, we have a message here from Christy Gilbert Holstedge, who is something or other. I guess that she is a city council person or somebody. I don't know. This hashtag Trans Day of Visibility, it is especially important to reiterate to our trans and non-binary community that you are seen, you are heard, and you are supported. We must fight back against hateful, discriminatory attacks on the LGBTQ plus community. And then she goes on, she says, in the city of Palm Springs, we are proud to be a beacon of hope to the rest of the nation. We've worked hard to build an inclusive community. Our latest proposes a guaranteed income pilot program for trans and non-binary people. Okay. All right. So if you need an extra $600 to $900 a month for up to 2 years, you can claim. Go out there and claim it. So we have a balance there, don't we? Yeah. A Florida man getting into the every one of these stories, you could say. You don't want to know what's wrong with our country? And any one of these stories would be a perfect example, wouldn't it? Well, here's a funny one. Florida man calls 911 to test the authenticity of his meth. Okay? Now, how I wish that crooks had been this stupid when I was still in law enforcement. Sadly, they were stupid, but they weren't this stupid. Authorities say a Florida man was arrested. This is from Breitbart. Authorities say a Florida man was arrested after he called 911 and requested a deputy test the methamphetamine he purchased, worrying that it was actually bath salts. Thomas Eugene Colucci, 41, called sheriff's deputies to a home in Spring Hill around 7 o'clock p.m. Thursday, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office said in a press release. When the deputies arrived at the scene Thursday, Colucci told them that after using a bit of methamphetamine he had purchased from a man at a bar, he believed it was bath salts. He added that he was an experienced drug user and knew what it should feel like. Colucci then turned over 2 baggies, each containing a white crystal-like substance, to the deputy. Being a conscientious law enforcement officer, so the deputies tested it, right? The sheriff's office said Colucci told deputies he wanted his methamphetamine tested as he did not want other people to purchase fake methamphetamine from the individual who sold it to him. I think that is a mark of a conscientious citizen. I mean, he could have called the Better Business Bureau, right? But that would have taken time, and time was of the essence when you are worried about other druggies out there perhaps getting the wrong product. Isn't that true? So he didn't want other people out there to be buying this fake methamphetamine and getting bath salts instead. So Colucci wanted deputies to put the person in trouble. Now, any of you people who have dealt with these people, you in law enforcement or whatever, you know that they express things very uniquely. I want to put this person in trouble for selling dangerous drugs as opposed to a methamphetamine, right? However, he was unable to provide a name or any contact info for this individual. Of course. You know, it brings up at a time that my partner and I were called in to investigate a fairly large case of bad drugs in the gay community in Kansas City. I won't go into detail. No, I didn't go into cover that far. Maybe I'll go on. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime, not today. So the deputy obliged and tested the substances in the baggies, both of which turned out positive for meth. They then arrested Colucci, who subsequently, and this so often happened, subsequently told him he was experiencing chest pains. It's called jailitis. I don't want to go to jail. I got chest pains, so they got to take you to the hospital, right? They took him to the hospital. The hospital released him. Now he's in the pokey. A happy ending to a very sad story. Today, this is from breaking911.com. Okay, DEA warns law enforcement to prepare for surge in mass overdose events from fentanyl. Now, how do you think they know this is coming? Washington. Beep, 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 beep. DEA. Beep, beep. Today, the Drug Enforcement Administration sent a letter to federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, warning of a nationwide spike in fentanyl-related mass overdose events. Administrator Ann Milgram outlined the current threat and offered DEA support to law enforcement officers responding to these tragic incidents. Yeah, okay, I've been there, done that. I've seen that dog and pony show I've made. I don't know if I talked about it on this channel, but I've talked about it over on American Reversion. I went into drug enforcement undercover way back in the 70s, shortly after the BNDD, which was the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, had changed over to the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA. And it was actually the reason that I went into law enforcement, because I saw the damage that I had personally seen from drugs around, and I thought I could do something. Yeah, I thought I wanted to step up, help my country, and all that, and so I was in it for quite a while. Was undercover for quite a while, and I came to realize, I came to discover that the government has no intention, no desire to stop these drugs, because the government, how shall I say this? Well, let's just say the government doesn't want to stop it. It's a jobs program for cops and parole officers and probation officers and corrections officers and the people who build the prisons. And it lets every politician get up there every 2 years and talk about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to solve it. You know, they need problems to run on. So anyway, so now the Drug Enforcement Agency is assuring, they say fentanyl is killing Americans at an unprecedented rate. Yep, It is. It is. You know how it gets here? It gets here from China through Mexico. You know how to stop it? I know how to stop it. I can't say it on here. You know how to stop it. So that's how they know it's coming. And it's coming. It's been here. It's coming more. And so they're preparing people. Oh, no, no, no. It gets everybody. They get a spot on CNN and Fox News and MSN and all these kinds of things. So, they're all buying new suits to be on the news and talk about this very seriously and let everybody know how much they care and how hard they're working and they need more money. If we just a little bit more money, we'll be able to solve this problem because it's the most important thing that's ever been in the world. And we didn't do it. It's not our fault, and we're not behind at all. But you can count on us. Oh, get ready. Get ready. Texas governor. I'm not a big fan of his. Mrs. Snerdley is not much of a fan of his at all. I kind of go back and forth on that. On this. Abbott does some good things. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about other things. Mrs. Snerdley doesn't like him at all. Vote. What do you think about Abbott? Hey, he's not the one that I would vote for in the upcoming election if I were a Texas voter, but he has done something great. He says, we're putting released migrants on buses to D.C. Okay, you're not gonna protect the border, and we know Biden administration's plan to end the Title 42 coronavirus protection protocol that Trump put in. Okay, and so they're about to begin large-scale mass releases of migrants all through our country. Well, Texas has a great idea. We're not sending them all through the country. We're sending them to D.C. I think that's great. I think that is great. I would even buy one of the tickets. Because you know what bunch of them are bringing? Chinese fentanyl. We'll make this the last one of the day here. This is interesting. Study says that China is conducting execution by heart removal for lucrative organ trade. Well, now, I think most of us have known that this is going on over there. We got just a couple of minutes here. Researchers, what's this from? This is Breitbart, Francis Martel. I am a descendant of Charles Martel, if you all know who he was. So I like the name Martel. Look him up. He did some really interesting things. Excuse me. Excuse me, allergies got me. I'll just croak along here for the last minute. I hate to cough into the mic into your ear. Researchers at the Australian National University, the ANU, published a study on Tuesday concluding that years of Chinese government data indicate government surgeons have killed prison inmates by tearing out their organs for transplants. Now, I know that headline was a little gruesome. I'm sure they didn't, tear them out, They probably just didn't grab them. They surgically removed them, resulting in the death of the patient or execution of the prisoner and a new product to be sold on the worldwide organ market. Folks, I think that'll about do it for today. All these things, like I've said, are to bring you up to speed or maybe let you know if you learned one or two things that you hadn't been aware of. Because I know if I didn't do this, I don't think I'd want to spend much time, going through all this stuff, but it's necessary. We all need to know all these things that are going on. And if there were a couple of things that I picked up on here that you may not have heard of, or it makes you want to look into it a little bit further, that's what it's for. Like I say, all these links are going to be over on the Patreon. I post this video on Patreon, then below it I put the links so that you can share this stuff with your friends. We need to share all these things as much as we can with that great, unwashed, undecided middle ground that decides American elections. Because If you allow them to do it through stupidity, you get stupid results like the one we had last time. We can't afford any more stupid results. If this country has any chance at all, I'm sorry, at all, to survive. How very unprofessional of me, isn't it? We need to start doing better. And that means us getting out there and spreading this information around. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've picked up a little bit, and I hope that you'll pass this on. Share this. Give us a thumbs up if you would. Make sure that you're subscribed. Pass this. Send this out to as many people as you think are appropriate, the people who will appreciate it, the people that you know it will make mad. Both will work. And you all have a good day. Remember that America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it, because if we can't get a reversion, it will need you to be a part of the alternative. So you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.